Burns still sort of looking out for you? I guess that's what mentors do.
Every Christmas, I would go and give him and Gracie a Christmas present at their home, I think on Maple. And and when we were rehearsing our thing, the I Ain't Got Nobody, we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed at his home, at their home. And the last person to see it was Gracie. She came down the stairs, and she was the one who made the decision. And when Gracie said yes, then we did it. She was so beautiful.
Let me, so not long after that, you get your first movie role, and you're cast in Pocket Full of Miracles. You haven't made a movie before, and all of a sudden, you're working for Frank Capra.
Oh, yes.
And who was the star of Pocket Full of Miracles? Whose daughter did you play?
Betty Davis. It was just incredible. I had never taken any acting lessons. I had done musical comedy in high school. And I didn't know what a close-up, a medium shot, or a long shot. And I just prayed that I would remember my lines. And I was doing a scene with Miss Davis, and all of a sudden she came up to me, and she looked at me and she said, An-Margret, this is your close-up. I want you to look the very best that you possibly can. Makeup, hair!
So in a Frank Capra movie, she cut the scene. You guys were rolling, and she stopped it.
Yes.
Now, one can imagine, we all have ideas of what Betty Davis was like. And it's not the woman who always looked out for the incredibly beautiful young actresses who were working in her movies, but that's exactly what she did.
The opening scene when you first see me and Peter, she was sitting down, like, well, I was way up here, and when I came back, she said, it reminded me so much of me and my mother. Yeah, yeah.
I just like the idea of Betty Davis cutting Frank Capra's scene, telling you to go get hair and makeup, then coming back, inspecting you, and then saying, all right, we can shoot now.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies, one of the best gambling movies ever made. We saw a clip up there, The Cincinnati Kid. From Norman Jewison, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Steve McQueen, you could hear it in the audience here. As soon as they saw McQueen, it was like this, this energy surge went through the audience.
Oh, yes.
And it's men and women. We're all like, oh, hey, Steve McQueen. Yeah. You were still very early in your career. This is, I think, 63, I think, and you 65, I guess, but you were early on. What was, if you weren't intimidated working with Betty Davis, I imagine you weren't intimidated, even though that cast, Carl Malden, Steve McQueen, Tuesday Well, these are serious actors.
Well, when I met him, we had this love of motorcycles, which I still do. And yeah, Lavender Harley with daisies. Really girly bike. And what was it? MGM was giving me a hard time because I was very young and I was single and I was on a motorcycle coming to work, and they got real nervous. And I couldn't understand why they did. So I said to Steve, what am I gonna do? He said, oh, let them worry, that's their job.
So it just